Mike the Mapmaker here, back for episode 3 of It's Business Crime, the series where we inject a criminal element into our tabletop RPGs. Today's episode, we are making a town guard station, a police station, a jail cell, basically a place to arrest and detain any player characters at your table that might have run amok and created some troubles. So we are going to start off by sketching out basic layout of rooms, with my focal point being the main jail cell in the center of the map. Now this building is in the same town as our general store, so I'm going to use the same building techniques that we did with that one. I'm going to have mostly stone buildings with a bit of wooden frame around, and what I'm actually going to do is add a staircase to the top of the map, because we're going to add a first floor to this as well. But before we get to that, I'm now going to focus on the jail cell, and I'm going to start to add the actual cell component to the room. This room is going to be the core of the building, so I'm going to start mainly with that, but I am immediately going to get distracted with a little evidence room here on the side. Now, I'm going to jump back, as is my way, and start to add some of the finer details to the cell. We're adding some beds for our prisoners to lie in. They're obviously going to need that. I've added lots of horrible watery stains on the floor, make it a bit dank. And I sort of add these actual grates here, and then I decide, you know what, just one's going to do it. Just a hint at a sewer below. You know I love my sewers for quick and sneaky entries and escapes. Also adding a bunch of buckets for them to use as a toilet. Oh, one of them's not been emptied. I wonder what's in there. We got little guard spots, a little stool, and a candle, some cards. And now I'm going to add a bit of moss. I feel like the jail cell here at the station, well, it's actually not going to be used as much as you might think. It's only a small town, there's not a lot of crime going on, so it doesn't get cleaned a lot. So I'm going to do a bit of environmental storytelling, adding some cobwebs, some moss, and some dank. And I think diversifying your textures, well, it can actually make a big difference to the way you view a room and a space. So that is the main jail cell completed, feeling pretty good with that. I'm now going to take a little moment to go back to that evidence room and start to try and make it a little bit cozy. Adding some more details, quite like the curtains, so you can seclude yourself in there if you're doing an investigation. I'm also adding a little kind of utility area where some loose tools are going to go. And yeah, a few bookshelves for all the files, and we're looking pretty good. Now, I am going back to the front entrance, the reception area, because I'm actually not liking the shape of it at all. So I'm going to restructure, move it around, and I want there to be a big set of heavy doors. I feel like a building like this would have a good, strong set of doors that could maybe repel any sort of attack from either criminal agents or your classic bandit, goblin, war raid, or anything like that. So this is going to be our new reception area, and if you're a farmer, a commoner coming in, well, you're going to need a little place to sit about. So I made myself a little waiting area around a table. Again, not a huge amount of gold going around, so the carpet's a bit rubbish. But there is one area where they like to put a bit more cash, and that's going to be the front desk. So we've got ourselves this kind of big, heavy stone slab operating as the front desk. I've added a little shrine to the god of law, so if you come in and you're talking to the police, well, you can maybe put a little donation to the god, get a little lawful blessing, something like that going on. And with this building, I am making kind of a blue and gold colour motif. I think that's quite cool and policey. And one of the things I'm very happy with is if you look to the top, I am constructing a little bulletin board. So this bulletin board, I just use a wooden fence for the main bit, and then I take a kind of strip of concrete, turn it a bit yellowy, parchmenty colour, and stretch it out really thin. And then to add off the last little bit, to give it that little touch of cream on top, I took magic orbs, and they're going to act as little pins where you can pin up wanted posters or kind of little side quests for your players. It's very good fun. I've also made a little carpeted area for our receptionist. There's a few weapons behind them, as well as some other trinkets they might need to use, and a bunch of parchments to write down reports and things like that. I'm feeling pretty good about the old reception. Alright, going up north, we are now going to focus on the detective's office. So there's a few areas just below where you can chain up criminals, and when they're ready for being processed, this is where they're going to go. Got a few desks set up, and yeah, you can sit on the stool, you'll talk to the detectives, and we're going to add a bunch of things on top of that they might be able to use to help their investigation, tools and whatnot. And I'm adding some fun storytelling elements. For example, here we have a jumper and a knife, and it looks like the Vic accidentally got jam all over themselves attempting to open a jar with a kitchen knife. Very silly. Probably say that's a user error rather than the jam manufacturer's fault. I don't think they're going to be liable. What am I talking about? How deep am I going? Focus. I need to focus. Okay, let's get back to it. Where were we? Yeah, we're adding the link pots and books and reports and all sorts. This is a chaotic space that's getting used constantly, so I wanted to show that off. And now I'm jumping around and we're going to go to the mess hall. So I'm adding a little chimney and a fireplace. I'm imagining this is where the town guard can have their breaks, have a little lunchtime snack. I'm thinking about the windows and where they need to go as well. Remember, every window we add is another potential way to get into the building for your criminal friends. And look, we got a little cooking area, a little cleaning area. I got some nuts on the table. There's a stew. And okay, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I've tried to make a little dishwashing area, and I've done it by making the plates a little bit stretched out. Yeah, I'm not so sure on it. I think it's kind of charming in a terrible way, but well, let me know what you think about it. Does it work or does it not? And now I get my idea of putting bins all across the building, these little waste bins. I also tweak the dishwasher because I'm a bit self-conscious. But I like adding bins there. You know, you always need a bin here and there. Throwing in another window, can't stop. And going back and adding a little chopping board with some cooking stains on it there. Got some stools and everything. It's quite a nice little area. I'm quite pleased with that. And then I'm matching the colours because, again, I want this kind of uniform colour scheme going throughout the building. Okay, so at this point I'm going to add a little area for the fireplace, make it look more official, a place for it to catch the embers that might shoot out of it. We're going to move on to the armory. Now, this is important. This is where the guards keep all their dangerous gear, what they need for their day-to-day patrols around the town. We're adding all sorts of interesting things like suits of armor and weapons. It's quite a fun room to pick up. And, oh, I'm getting distracted. I feel like this room suddenly needs a carpet. Yeah, guess it does. Oh, like maybe this thing as well. No, that's not looking very good. Let's get rid of that. Because, yeah, I feel there's an empty space here that needs to be filled. I'm going to slap a bit of mud in there. It is a town that is muddy. We've got farmers and the lot all around. The paths don't have as much paving as you might get in the big city. And it gives our space, well, something to look at in the middle. And it makes it look as if it's constantly used. Now, ignore that diversion. We're back to the armory. And here we have a little area where you can grab a torch. Of course, the town guard, what are they without a torch, wandering around saying, oh, who goes there at night? You know, it's essential. So essential, I in fact add a little torch making station as well. And to tie the room together, we have a big candelabra thing, chandelier above, that makes it look fancy, and I'm adding that blue and gold motif in here as well, under the suits of armor. We got a broken sword there as well, with some tools, maybe someone was doing some repairs. Generally, I'm just throwing stuff I find in the listing that I think is cool, and that can make this armory feel like an exciting place to maybe break into and rob. This is going to have some great gear. You might be able to equip it yourselves, or at least sell it on to some ne'er-do-wells who might give you some cash. Okay, I think I'm wrapping up the ground floor here, just adding some outside decorations like a road, trees, bushes. There's a little pool area where we got some puddles, maybe some kids from the town harass the people in the jail cell. I'm adding street lights, and my favorite bit of any map, I'm adding ambient lighting, shading where I think it needs it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. Of course, we are only halfway, and before we jump to the first floor, I can't of course forget we're going to do the nighttime variant as well. So at night we close the front doors to the police station, and I really enjoy adding these window lights. I think it gives the map a lot of character, and yeah, it gives it a bit of atmosphere, makes it a bit spooky. So, now we have a perfect ground floor to a police station where we can host a huge amount of different types of quests, whether your players are coming to pick up a bounty, or if they're trying to sneak in to steal some key evidence for a crime boss. You've got lots of options, and of course, the main thing is we've got a place where we can lock up the players if they do some crimes. It's the ultimate map. You can use it for so much. So let's stop and look at our final results. So there you have it. Our first map is complete out of the 2. I'm feeling very pleased with it. I think it looks great. And wouldn't you know it, in all the fun, we missed the fact that a like and subscribe got locked up. Oof, looks like they're in there for a long time. You know, if you like and subscribe this video, well, you might be able to help them out, get them out of there earlier. But of course you don't have to. Maybe they deserve to rot. Anyway, let's move on to the next part of the video. We're going to start on our second map, and the easiest way to do this is just to take the framework of what we've done on our first map, strip it down to its bare bones, and then start to build on top of it. So I start tracing the outlines of the rooms, but then I kind of get a bit confused, so I take a moment to try and draw what I think the building would look like in 3D. So you can see a very crude representation of that in MS Paint. I don't know, it seemed to help me when I was putting this together. So I've got the general outline down, but it does beg the question, what are we doing with this first floor on top of our ground floor? Well, I'm thinking this could be an area where the town guard could patrol and look out from the station at the town, see any crimes that might be happening, while also a place for them to plan and strategize. So I'm going to add a little strategy room here, and on the outside, on the decking, well, I'm going to include an area for them to train the guards and have a place to practice with their tools and weaponry. So with this room, I've added a big table. We've got maps and things for the town guard to organize themselves. I've got little doodads scattered around to make it feel like a real place, and I've added a little space behind the crates where maybe someone could listen in to some of the town guard's planning. And with a couple more props and a bit of lighting, we are done with this room. And it's on to the next. I'm making a little area for the actual town guard's leader, maybe the captain. It's going to be a fancy room where a lot of the money maybe has gone to make it seem presentable, because the town captain not only organises and leads this force, but they might have to take in fancy guests from higher ranking individuals like dukes, barons, and maybe even royalty if things get crazy in this town with your heroes, who knows. Another really useful thing about using the old map to make this map is we can take elements from the first map and change them up. So I have my blue gold motif, well I flipped it around for the captain's room so it's gold and blue. Adding a few more cabinets and things, there's a little drinky area and a waiting spot with the nice sofas, and I'm pretty happy with how this is, so I'm going to move on to the final area. And this area isn't very complicated, but it is quite fun to actually work on. We're going to add some targets and some training dummies, and a few tables and stools for the guards to sit and look out at night. I don't know how much crime they'd actually see from there, but it would make the townsfolk feel a lot safer, because as they walk at night, they might be like, oh, there's a rogue around here, gonna steal my purse, and then they look up and there's a guard and they feel safe. It's a powerful thing to have in your town. Above the reception, we're not actually going to have an additional room, so what I'm doing now is using roof tiles and constructing my own bespoke little kind of slate roof for that area. It's a bit of a jumbled Frankenstein's monster as I put it all together. It takes a little bit of thinking and you have to layer it correctly, but I think I'm actually really happy with how it turned out at the end of it. It's one of the things I had to really think about as I was doing it, but yeah, I think it looks the bee's knees. So at this point, the main bits have been done. I'm just going to go around and start to add some extra little details here and there, like a little training line and some sort of degradation on the decking to make it seem like people have been training here, and there's a few gouges taken out of the wood where people have missed with their swords. There's a few pot marks behind the targets. It's great. And of course, once that's done, we're going to the night time, and I'm just swapping the lighting around. And you know how I feel about my lighting, guys. Oh, it's the good stuff. And when I'm making my lighting, I like to overlay the lighting effects a few times and start to spread them out, put them at different angles to give more complicated lighting effects. And that brings us to the end of map 2. Let's check it out in more detail. And there you have it, 4 new maps you can use at your table for any simple town who needs a town guard. I didn't set a time limit this time when creating the map, and over the course of a few sessions, this probably took me about 9 hours of messing around, but I'm really pleased with the results, and once again, these are available to download completely for free using the link below. So next episode, we will take these maps and we'll be looking at what happens when you actually lock up your players. When you actually arrest them. How do we make this fun and exciting while avoiding frustrating the players and making them feel like they played the game wrong? Of course, we've also got the problem of what happens when not everyone gets arrested all at once. How do you deal with splitting the party in this manner? If you want to find out, well, tune in next week for another exciting episode of It's Business Crime. Keep on trucking. I'll see you there.